Assalamu alaikum, peace be with you. You're listening to Cup of Parenting podcast, and I'm your host, Aisha, a paediatric speech and language therapist, mum of 7, and parenting coach here in the UK. This week, we're talking about experiences of disability. In particular, we're talking to families who may have a child with a disability and how that impacts on them and their family life. Now, in case you didn't know, 8% of children are actually categorized as having a disability here in the UK, according to the government's Family Resources Survey from 2020. So with me today, I have Rozita. Rozita is a mom of 4, 2 boys and 2 girls, mashallah, and her third child, Azhad, has a diagnosis of cerebral palsy. Rozita, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. So, Rozita, if
Yeah.
we could just start by taking you back to sort of, I guess, before your son was born, were you aware that you were going to have a child, with cerebral palsy? At what point did you find out?
Yeah, definitely. We don't know anything about his diagnosis. I have 2 child, my first and second, they are born normal. And when my third came in and he was born normal, I have no complication during pregnancy. There's nothing indication that be having disabled child. So the birth was normal. Everything was normal. I haven't got any sickness or whatsoever during pregnancy. Everything was normal, and during birth was normal. And he sort of during the birth for the first 4 months, 3 months, I can say he's a healthy boy, and we went for checkup, and there's nothing unusual about him. He laughs, he eats just as normal as any other children. But then his milestone is not as normal. He did not like go into the normal like crawling and things like that, like any other children. So by the time of 7 months, 6 months, 7 months, I became worried. Why he has not been like, he can't like sit, he can't crawl, he can't do things that normal babies do. But other than that, his smile, he can baby talk, everything else is normal apart from that milestone. So I was worried, and I think it's time for me to inquire what is wrong with him. And that is when I was like told that my son has cerebral palsy, or diagnosed with cerebral palsy. That is when he was like 7 months old.
Okay,
Yeah.
so subhanAllah, that's really interesting to know. So because sometimes, depending on the disability, they might pick it up in a scan and they might tell the families, obviously,
Yeah.
and at that point they have to make a decision. Whereas with you didn't find out till, and as you said, he had all his normal developmental milestones. You didn't find out till he was about 7 months.
Yeah.
So in terms of getting the diagnosis itself, Rozita, how easy was that? Did you go to the GP? Was it the health visitor you spoke to?
Yeah, because this happened like back in Malaysia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, back in Malaysia. So when he was 7 months old, when he was diagnosed, I was lost. I can't even like say cerebral palsy. I have to ask the doctor, okay, can you like jot down or spell it out for me so that I know what it is, and I know what is cerebral palsy in the first place. And back in Malaysia, we have no support system at all. And I was lost. I don't know where to go, what to do, what's next to do, what treatment should I take. I'm lost. I'm totally lost. And I was just told to go to some like pediatrician that is specialized pediatricians, neuro specialists. And there they asked me to sort of like register with the welfare department. But other than that, there isn't any support for us back in Malaysia. So we sort of like find our own resources, where to go after that. And we just like find what actually is available. But sadly in Malaysia, there isn't any much that is available. So yeah, that's for the first year of his life
Yeah.
in Malaysia. We haven't got any support. Yeah.
Okay. And for any of our listeners who aren't familiar, Rozita, with the diagnosis of cerebral palsy, can you just tell us a little bit about what does that mean for the child? What is it that, he might not be able to do compared to, say, a typically developing child?
Yeah, I mean, cerebral palsy is a depletion of oxygen. It can caused by anything, accident or during childbirth, and anything that can cause oxygen depletion towards the child during pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
But in my case, after that, when he was diagnosed, I make all the tests that can relate of his disability.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it genes, is it inheritance, or is it whatever test that we can find?
Yeah.
It's all normal until we sort of insist to get a MRI for him. And that's where we found out that even that in Malaysia, they say there's nothing wrong with the brain.
Yeah.
Until we came here with the report and with the images, that the people over here found that there's some white matter in his brain that is not quite developed. So,
okay, so that was in when you say here, you mean in the UK? You came to the United Kingdom. Okay.
Yeah.
So because of that, now what is it that what are the challenges that you're presented with on a day-to-day basis, Rozita? Because your son, he uses a wheelchair as well.
Yeah.
So there's some physical sort of challenges that you have. What else is it that?
Yeah, I mean, from the day that he's been diagnosed, he can't walk since then. So I mean, when he's small toddler, I can carry him, there's no problem. But now it's a bit too hard for me now.
How old is he now, Rozita?
He's 19 now.
Oh, mashallah. So
yeah. So from the beginning, he can't walk. So he's on wheelchair and everything. But as time goes, he can feed himself. Mm-hmm. But other than that, he's sort of he needs someone to be around him 24 hours.
Yeah.
So it's really it's hard work.
Yes.
It's really hard work because before I moved to the current house I'm living now, we haven't got any adaptation to the house previously we lived. So it's all have to carry him from bed to the chair to the toilet, and it's really hard work until he was just 3 years back when we moved here.
Okay, so in terms of his caring, are you his main carer, Rozita?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay, and you've just mentioned that you would need the house to be adapted, which is obviously quite a big thing that needs to be done.
Yeah.
The thing that I wanted to pick up on was, I didn't know this until I did a bit of research, that typically about £583 a month extra is required typically for people who have a child with a disability in terms of extra expenses on top of everything else. And statistically, this can go all the way up to £1,000. Now, this is not even something that I thought of. Did you find that you had to spend extra in terms of financial resources, Rozita, to adapt for your son's needs?
Yeah, definitely, because he needs special equipments. Special equipments are not cheap.
Yeah,
they are all expensive, and we can't buy there and then. So we have to sort of top up every now and then to get one special equipment for him. Sometimes we do get fundings.
Yeah.
But other than that, sometimes we need some extra physio, things like that. I mean, although that he has had that in school, but we always need some extra bit for him.
Yeah.
It's always financially it's really, really tight. Yeah.
Oh, subhanAllah. So in terms of the support system, I know you mentioned when you were back home in Malaysia, there wasn't really that much in terms of what you knew and support that you could easily go to. So now at the moment you're living in the UK and you've been here for a while. What is the support system like here? Is it better? Can it still be improved? Do you have access to special services that you can use for him?
Yeah. I mean, comparing to Malaysia, Malaysia has I probably still like 20 years back
Mm.
as what we have here in UK, which I'm very grateful of. First of all, is education.
Mhm.
So when I came here, I furthered my study, and I found out that I can't find it in Malaysia. In Malaysia, they only have sort of like care center,
Okay.
not education. But over here, in whatever state your child is, education is first, and they will make you like the child in whatever means. If they can't talk, they have devices. If they can't use hand, they can use eyes, whatever things that they can use so that the child could have education. So
Yes.
that is the first thing that the service that I mean, the opportunity that we get here, that is very, very beneficial for my son. And that is on education and also on health. They have a very like conducive like system that help from the beginning, and education, health, and also like a social service. So they are all like 3 in 1. So it's really helpful. Yeah.
That's good. So you get like a whole package of support from different areas.
Yes.
And have you just mentioned that in terms of the
Mm-hmm.
schools, as the most important thing for any human is to be
Mm-hmm.
able to communicate, and that's
Yes.
something that the schools emphasize on in here. So how long does he stay in the school system for, Rozita? Is it the same age as any other child? Is it a specialist school? How do you transport him to the school? Do you take him yourself?
Yeah. The school that my son goes is an independent school.
Mhm.
So it's not a mainstream, and it's not like specialist school supported by government, but it's an independent school, but it's been funded by the council.
Okay.
So Azhad has been in that school since he was 4 years old until just recently.
Oh, small. That's a very
So
long
it's
time.
like almost 15 years.
Mm.
Yeah, 15 years. So he's been in that school since he was 4 years old. And it was quite emotional because he's been there all his life. And I can't thank enough the school for giving the support, the commitment. The staff are so like dedicated with the things that they are doing. So I'm really I can't say
Oh, that's amazing.
yeah.
It's amazing to know that these people have had obviously such a profound impact on you and your family
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
support him. That's amazing to know that there's people out there who are supporting these children who obviously clearly need as a society.
Yeah.
That's really amazing.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to ask you is
Mhm.
yourself personally, Rosita, has obviously been quite a long journey for you. How do you feel it's impacted on you and your family? Do you feel like you've had to make some pretty major changes? How has that been for you?
Um when we know that we have a special need child,
Mm-hmm.
the only thing we have in mind is to move forward, to give him best thing that we could ever find.
Yeah.
So that's why we decided to sort of like to stay here. We thought that he could get the best of his life over here,
Mm-hmm.
and we want him to be included in the community. We want him to be as normal, although we know that he can't be normal, but we try to make him feel, because he is just as normal children. He has feeling, he has things that he wants. The only thing that he's disabled, he can't walk. But other than that, he's just like any other normal children.
Of
So
course.
we want him to get the best of his life, to have friends, to have things that he wants to do. And for us, although it's hard work, although we feel like intimidating, it's fear, it's exhaustion, but at the end of the day, the exhaustion, the tiredness is all worth if you can make him happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's an absolutely amazing and incredible job that you're doing. It's hard enough, being a mom to children who don't have a disability, and you're always on your feet, and it's always never ending, isn't it? The tiredness and the running
Yeah. I
around.
mean, he's just like I want to say a baby. Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
can say that because he can't
Yes.
managed by himself. He can go to the toilet by himself, everything, personal care, dressing up, everything. We got to do it for him.
Yeah.
So the only fear that I have now is just, if I die, who's gonna take care of him? Yeah, that's the only fear that I have.
Because ultimately you're his mom, and you know you've
Yeah,
been doing it the way
yeah,
a mom does
yeah,
to care for a child, which
yeah.
is
I just feel that, of course, any mother will say that
of course.
the mother will do best. I mean, the best that any other people can do, right? I mean, although we have the service, we have the carers. I have carers at the minute come over to my house
Yeah.
like every morning and every evening. We still feel that we can do better than that, something like that. Yeah.
Oh, subhanallah. That's
Yeah.
just typical of mums, isn't it?
Yeah.
Want to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
more above and beyond. The other thing I wanted to pick up on, Rozita, was that I know I see you in the mosque quite a lot, and I know you go out and about and have family days out. How easy is it for you taking him where you want to go in terms of access arrangements? And do you ever face any prejudice or have any difficulty getting out and about?
We do have some difficulties in accessibility, like if we go holidays, especially. It's hard for us to find accommodation with accessibility. So if it's a bit expensive. So it's always, the money will be more than the normal one.
Oh, okay. So you have to
Yeah.
actually spend extra to
Yes, it's always you need to
place.
find extra. If I were to go to hotel, I will need to find a disability room that has like a wet room at the same time, and we have to bring all his equipment like a toilet seat and things like that. So yeah, and also if we were to go any places that is around the area, we need to know beforehand that if the place is accessible or not. And the other thing is, like, me as a mother, I want him to be part of the community, and also like not just like the community that we have here, but also like my small community, like the Malaysian community.
Yes.
So we have sort of like gathering. Usually we have gatherings. Sometimes people invite us to the house, but it's always not possible for my son and me, because it's not accessible. So he's always been left out. He's always been left out. But sometimes, to this extent, I want him to be part of that community. So we have to work a bit harder. Sometimes we have to go like up the stairs. We have to carry him and things like that. So yeah, but now it's just impossible. It's just too big for us to carry him.
Yeah,
so
sure.
if that's the case, so he'll be left out. So yeah, and I'm so relieved that we have the new mosque. And I always, whenever that we have meeting with the contractors, the first thing I will ask is the mosque will have a lift or not? So they say yes, they will have lift. So I was so relieved because, or else he'll be left out again. Because at the moment, like the mosque that we have now, it is accessible, but sometimes if too many people, it's quite hard for him to be with his. So yeah.
So I think as a society in general, we should be probably doing a lot more and thinking about these things when we invite families, and sort of thinking about how we can be more inclusive of children who might not be able to easily access whatever event it is, isn't it? From what you're saying, which is something which is definitely worth exploring further and thinking about.
Yes,
What
definitely.
advice would you then give, Rozita, if there's any mom out there listening, or any families listening who are maybe not as advanced stage as you are, because your son's, you know, entering adulthood now? Maybe they've got a younger child or a small baby, or they have children in their family who do have a disability, and it might not be the same as what your son has, but what advice would you give to that mom or that family?
I would say that just live life as it is. We want not just make our child happy. We want us to be happy as well, not to be frustrated, not to be mourn with the testing that Allah has given us. We just move forward. We just get things moving, and get all the opportunity that we have, make our life better, and just be happy and enjoy life.
Absolutely. And you're, subhanAllah, you're such a smiley person. I don't think I've ever seen you without a smile on your face. And I pray God always keeps a smile on your face and blesses
Inshallah.
you and your whole family and your son especially as well. And thank you so much for agreeing to come onto the show today. It's been absolutely fantastic. And I have learned so much myself. I'm sure other people out there will have learned valuable lessons from listening to you, Rozita.
Okay.
Jazakallahu khairan to everyone for listening. Assalamu
Yeah.
alaikum
Thank
wa
you very much.
rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.